Sorry. Bad form, I know. Just finishing typing something out. My goodness, what a day. So much news going on today. We actually have really important news stories to talk about today, but I can't help myself. It's so fucking crazy. It's crazy how life works out, right? Like, so last night I'm talking to Tony. By the way, due to the nature of the conversation we were having last night and a couple images that were shown and stuff, that, in its entirety, last night's discussion with Tony could be seen on Rumble. But just to be safe, I did remove it. Because, we're trying not to get banned over here. But enjoyable conversation with Tony. You guys should follow him over at Hello Listener. Enjoyed it. Oh, we got a snake raid incoming. Then I'll my show tonight, I had so much serious stuff to talk about, but I was inspired by Jake Rattlesnake. And so I gave myself a little detour, which we'll get to. But I had a fun show doing the extra. It's always fun. I did lose to Jake at fucking trivia today. It sucks. Jake, listen, everybody thinks I'm like a really smart guy just because I'm decent at debate. But I'm not. I'm just a fat redneck that is a competitive asshole when it came to arguing and love arguing. And my key strength in debate, I'll give you the secret. How am I so good at debate? Because I'm always on the right side of the issue. Bam! So it does hurt a little. I don't think I'm breaking any news here, but I think by most metrics, Jake's probably a better looking guy than me. Probably could beat me in a fight. He's younger and healthier. And the motherfucker beats me at trivia. So he's probably smarter than me, too. But he is Australian, which sucks, so I got that over him. Good old USA, motherfucker. Jake will never have that till he decides to marry a fat chick and settle down, get his green card. Until then, though, I'm the man. So it was a close trivia. It was. Thanks for the raid, Jake. I do always appreciate it, man. We got to start doing a show together, like at least once a month, outside the extravaganza. Because it seems like, just so you know, very rarely is it planned that me and Jake are doing the extravaganza. Sometimes, like Andrew will say, I need the week off, or Jake will say he needs the week off. But most of the time, shit comes up and people are very busy, and then it ends up like at the last minute. So, like, Jake will have the entire show prepared to do with Andrew, and then some podcast calls Andrew or something, or, something crazy, his flight's delayed, and we basically have to redo the show on the fly. So he does an awesome job, I think, with us just trying our best, just impromptu. Luckily, you could just, I almost slipped up. I almost went into extravaganza mode and used a slur that I shouldn't. We don't use those slurs here on the Normal America show. That shit's bad. You don't do that. Anyways, there's a ton of news to talk about today. Tonight's show, actually, there was going to be a debate prep show I was going to do with Ryan Mullally and Andrew Wilson. And I knew that it wasn't happening, and I thought about clickbaiting you all and being like, maybe show with Andrew Wilson, because then more people would watch and then be disappointed when the show wasn't with Andrew Wilson. But I decided to be ethical. Ethical! So no clickbaity title. Except then I did go with the clickbaity title. So here's the deal. There's a lot to talk about. The Virginia redistricting stuff, Southern Poverty Law Center. I think it's a seminal story, and we are going to talk for real at great length about that, because I think it is a hugely important story. I'll give you a little preview. There are these moments that occur in our political system when it comes to Donald Trump and sort of what he represented. There are these inflection points that were like part and parcel to everything that the Trump-hating establishment builds upon. The building blocks. One of them is Russiagate, the original Russiagate stuff. One of them is Charlottesville, where supposedly Trump said Nazis are good people. That's one of the blocks, right? One of them's the Ukraine impeachment. The perfect phone call, as Trump calls it. And the last one is January 6th. And what we're seeing is, one by one, each of those are bullshit. They're absolute bullshit. Russiagate already fell. They've just moved on. The left's just moved on. Like, it's no big deal. It gets worse and worse every day. Those of us that were called conspiracy theories are vindicated. It's not that we were super geniuses. The evidence was right there for everyone to see. Now we see it with Charlottesville, as we'll get to tonight with the Southern Poverty Law Center indictment. We already saw the stories breaking last week from Tulsi about the Ukrainian impeachment and how the Inspector General and he who shall not be named, Eric Charmella, were lied on the forms, didn't have direct knowledge, set this all up, were cooperating with Democrats. And the last brick to fall will be January 6th. So in that vein, I think we're going to talk a lot about Southern Poverty Law Center and manufacturing hate in order to enrich yourself by blaming the other side for being hateful. Will we end up with real accountability? I don't know. Probably not. Maybe some slaps on the wrist from a couple people that aren't the most important. It'll never be the accountability we deserve. Yeah, we already have the person with the explosives. That narrative's already fell apart. Flyers are whooping the Penguins. It was 1-0 when I was looking. What's the score now? Oh, piss. No! Damn those Flyers. We're getting grittied. So I'm all ready to talk about important shit. I got a long show lined up. Of course, what we'll need from you all is your donations, because we are corrupt, greedy bastards here at the Normal America Show. Well, at least I am. I don't know about anyone else. So get those donations in. Yeah, ban them. You're banned! Fuck you. No. But then something happened. We're wrapping up the extravaganza. And I'm like, Jake, what are you doing tonight? He's like, I don't know. Have a fun night. Talk about the Brian Shapiro stuff. Now, this is tough for me because last night I was unable to talk about the SPLC and the Virginia redistricting because I was talking to Tony from Hello Listener. Tomorrow night, I'm doing a debate on Modern Day Debate at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. So I have to talk about the important news stories tonight. But there's always the low-hanging fruit of Brian Shapiro. The gift that keeps on gifting. The most well-respected influencer probably in history. I mean, he is just... Now, I'm trying to do something here. I screwed up and I was trying to create a little jingle. I think Brian, he's such a fan of the show that I think he deserves his own jingle, right? He calls in all the time. He's probably watching as we speak. Hi, Brian. How you doing? So I had a little X communication, over on the former Twitter on X with Brian, and I figure, what the hey? If Jake's having fun, I might as well have fun too. So, I'll start off asking you this. As I work on this jingle real quick. That'll do. I want you to take a stab at answering. Take a stab at answering what it is, the title of this video. Can you guess what Brian Shapiro asked me to see? Does anyone have a guess? You won't believe it. You wouldn't believe what he asked me to see. What could it be? Well, I'm very pleased with how this came out as I was creating. I put my band on this. My band was actually on this as we were, they created a song for you guys and for Brian. It's called Syndicated Respect. So anytime we talk about Brian, I think we should, let's give him his dues. Let's give him his own song. You ready? Yeah.
He harasses women in messages, has a weird infatuation with men's organs. He's a syndicated radio host, and it's all about respect. He's Brian Shapiro.
Shapiro? Close enough. Let's hear it again. What a theme
He
song.
harasses women in messages, has a weird infatuation with men's organs. He's a syndicated radio host, and it's all about respect. He's Brian Shapiro.
I like that they mispronounced his name. My band. Good guys. I'm a big fan of that. Yes, Brian Shapiro. And for those of you that guessed, it was my penis. He asked to see my penis. Yes, it's true. As unbelievable as it sounds. We're on what, like day 30 something of Penis Gate? Absolutely horrendous. The trauma from Penis Gate. I'm trying to laugh my way through it, but it's terrible. Allegedly, as you were taking that woman's money, is that what you said to her? Why don't you show me your tits? Is that what you said? Is that some of the alleged abuse that you gave to that woman? Is that some of it?
You went personal with me when you lose a debate.
Oh, horrible. Penis Gate continues. On today's episode of Insane Brian Shapiro
He
shit.
harasses women in messages, has a weird infatuation with men's organs. He's a syndicated radio host, and it's all about respect. He's Brian Shapiro.
All right, so we talked about this a little last night as going off the air. Now, one of the things that happens is you're approached with debate offers, and I gotta be honest with you, there are people I don't really like, and I would put Brian Shapiro in the category of people that I don't particularly like. But there's still somewhat of a code. And part of that code is, unless it's relevant, you don't really release DMs. You could release DMs if it's just like cheeky. Like if I released a DM of Jake being like, Rob, I just respect you so much. I wish I was you. Yeah, that's one thing. But, you don't really release DMs. And here's another thing. For me, personally, I don't think it's the biggest deal in the world. But I try not to give people shit for turning down debates. Now, and I've done this for a long while. So, like, at one point, Destiny officially announced he blacklisted me, right? But there was a long time before that he wouldn't debate me, and I actually defended him. I was like, the guy's busy. I'm a smaller streamer compared to him. I'm difficult to debate. Why would you want to, what does he gain from debating me? It doesn't mean that he's like, well, I would lose. I don't think that's what he thought. So, and there's been other people that are just like, no, I don't want to debate you. Most of the time I'm like, all right, that's cool. And when it comes to these groups that are like moderators reaching out, you get a lot of offers. I've turned down debates. People reach out to me like Modern Day Debate or, all kinds of people that host debates, and they'll say, Rob, do you want to debate this topic? And I'm like, no, not really. It doesn't mean that I'm particularly, I'm afraid to debate that topic. No, sometimes it's just shit I'm not interested in. You know how many debates I've offered for Israel-Palestine? I would debate like Israel-United States stuff, but I don't really care to debate Israel-Palestine. So there's that. Flat Earth debates, and a lot of people ask me to do that. Now the big thing is Christian nationalism, which for a long time I wouldn't take those debates, but unfortunately that's all anyone wants to debate anymore. So I end up taking these debates, but I digress. Anyways, so I'm going to be heading down to Modern Day Debate, or their debate con. It's going to be in Dallas here later in the summer. I'm heading down there, and I had just messaged James something simple. Basically, I re-messaged him because I'd messaged him like a month ago and was like, hey, just want to let you know I am going to be there. If you need any help communicating with people, setting up tables, shit like that, just let me know. Also, if you have any debates on your channel, I have some free time. Happy to debate on Modern Day Debate, as always. That's it. Simple. And James messaged me back and was like, absolutely, man. Thanks for offering to help. Hey, I have a debate. A big debate for you. Are you free next Thursday? I said, sure, I'm free next Thursday. This was last weekend. He says, how would you like to debate Brian Shapiro? What do you think a good topic would be? Blah, blah, blah. I basically said, I don't know word for word, but basically I was like, yeah, no problem. You can basically, whatever topic's fine. It'll probably be something Trump related. Sounds good to me. And then he messaged me back, and basically I won't get into all the details, but there's some messages back and forth that was basically like, look, this might not happen, right? Like it turns out that, and then eventually he was like, yeah, Brian declined. Now, that was it. I didn't plan on coming out here and going, oh, Brian Shapiro's afraid to debate me. He's afraid. Wasn't my intent. I just let it go. Right? But that dumb shit has to bring it up. So the other day I covered that Sarah Fields, who's like a Republican precinct coordinator and a big presence on X, she put out the clip of Brian spurging out me for 18 and a half minutes because Brian's been going after this Savannah Hernandez lady who got shoved by this violent family that he interviewed and stuck up for. Now he's sending her these fucked up DMs, which is what he always does. And so I just put like, yeah, you know, I do think there's something seriously wrong with Brian. Here's the response. He says, hi, Rob. All joking aside, you asked me to debate again last week. I laughed. I brought you up to Michael and Jack. That's Michael Knowles and Jack Posobiec. Apparently, Brian would have you believe his best friends. They have no idea who you were. This is why I debated Alex Stein instead in Phoenix. We sold out tickets. I wish you luck with your YouTube super chat career. Thank you so much. Begging your 100 fans for money. Well, sir, 100 fans? How about 377 on YouTube alone? But yeah, I'm sort of begging them for money. You got it. By the way, send in more money, everyone. All joking aside, Merry Christmas. And I said, I didn't ask to debate you last week. Modern Day Debate reached out to me and asked if I would debate you. I said, yes. Apparently you declined. Thanks for wishing me well, though. I'm still not going to show you my penis, though. Now, Brian does this thing. This is like right out of the Pisco. I like Pisco much more than Brian, but this is right out of the Pisco, how you operate on X, right? What Pisco would always do is you'd have a conversation. Like, imagine it goes something like this. Like, oh, fucking Trump's guilty of this. And then I respond, no, because if you look at this, and instead of Pisco responding to me, what he does is likes his own post, reposts his own post, then he'll start another chain where he quote posts me. Now, he's doing that for several reasons. One, I don't know that Pisco's doing this, but one of the reasons people do this is so you're not tagged. So you don't know to respond. Second, because the top post always ends up getting the most views. So you're hoping your audience interacts with it more. That way it looks like more people agreed with you. And that's what Brian did. So instead of tagging me, he quote posts, so I never saw the post. And then he starts talking shit last night. Now, fortunately for me, I happened to see one of the people that I follow responded to Brian, which allowed me to be able to see the post. So from this exchange, instead of responding to me, which he didn't do, he quote posts. Now, the reason is he's real ashamed for people to know that he asked to see my penis. He's real ashamed about that. So then, instead of just responding, he creates this other post and goes, LMAO, neither me or anyone else wants to see that. The insult was, when was the last time you saw your penis, Rob? I declined because we already debated and no one knows who the fuck you are. Good luck with your YouTube begging and have a good night. Now, notice he had about 5,000 people that saw this. He has 12 likes. Great. Brian has, I think, damn near, he has 50,000 followers, 46,000. I have a little under 10. So his YouTube or his X audience is, considerably larger than mine, more than 4.5 times larger. Notice how he gets ratioed every fucking post. But he's a big man. He's got the huge audience. He's the big man. Everyone knows who he is. So my response was, I know you're upset I declined to show you my penis, but no need to lie. And of course I play. Allegedly, as you were taking that woman's money? Is that what you said to her? Why don't you show me your tits? Is that what you said? Is that something alleged abuse? So in right there for the whole world to hear. No, man, you didn't say when was the last time you saw your penis, Rob. You asked to see my penis. Now, brief aside, the way to handle this is if I in the spur of the moment arguing when someone said that, this is what I'd say. Shit, that did sound pretty gay, didn't it? And then it would just move on. But not Brian. No, I didn't say that. I didn't say that. I didn't ask to see your penis. Now notice, I provide the proof. Does Brian say, no, that's not true? No. He knows that it's bullshit. He knows that we have the proof. So what's he say? He goes, I just showed you lied about what you said. You did ask to see my penis. Here's his response. This is why you'll never be any more than a YouTube super chat unknown beg clown. That's quite the run-on. I have an event with the governor today. Paid debates tomorrow. And next week, you have the same 100 listeners who you will beg for donations. Good luck with that in your amazing career. Incidentally, I heard from Jake Rattlesnake. I can't confirm this is true, but I certainly trust Jake. That Jake volunteered to debate Brian Shapiro in person at DebateCon, and Brian Shapiro demanded money. So he gives me shit because I ask an audience who voluntarily gives me super chats. That somehow makes me like a shitty person. Meanwhile, he's begging everyone and their mother to pay him to do debates, which sometimes they do because you want a really shitty debater that your people could beat up on. And Brian fits that. I don't know that I would call him a debater, but he fits that bill. By the way, thanks for listening, Brian. I know you're in the chat here. And I respond, I'll never be known because I pointed out you were lying about asking to see my penis. See, because I put it on his line. He goes, this is why you'll never be any more than an unknown clown. Why? Because I pointed out that you asked to see my penis? That's weird. Rob, you pointing out I asked to see your penis is why you'll never be a big star. Oh, I guess I'm not meant for Hollywood then, huh? Then he responds, great talk, Rob. One day, you might take those Andrew Wilson simp knee pads off. You're invisible and irrelevant. I've work to do. Mute. Now, this is another Brian specialty. He'll claim he's muting you or I'll never interact with you again. And then he interacts with you again. So he muted me, right? I said, don't project just because you're obsessed with seeing dude's penis. But I understand you need to get back to work. More women to send harassing DMs to, I suppose, which is his specialty apparently. And then I love how he doesn't even deny that. He didn't mute me. So he goes, it could be that he has more women to send harassing DMs to. Good job, Brian. At least you didn't deny it. Or it could be getting paid for speaking engagements and debates. I've only been scheduled debates outside my show for 6 months and I get paid. You've been doing this for a decade and no one pays you. That's not true. I think I started live streaming in 2019 or maybe 18 nonetheless. What does that say about your YouTube begging career? Laughing my ass up. Bye-bye, Rob. Winning. He goes with the old Charlie Sheen. I said, wow, you were impressive. Still not letting you see my penis, though. Now, when I found that, notice he got ratioed in every post. Now, we could talk about this. There's really not much to say. The man asked to see my penis. He asked. He demanded. Show your penis, Rob. Hurtful, hurtful, hurtful. Every exchange that you have with the guy, he makes a fool of himself further and further. I don't think I've ever seen him win any exchange on any platform. But, you know what I realized? My audience deserves better. It's not enough. It's not enough to just show you and read those clips. We do things differently here at the Normal America Show. So I thought that I would contact my musical friends and have them put our epic X fight here yesterday in more of an operatic form. So for your enjoyment, I present to you the X argument that Brian Shapiro and I had.
Hey, Rob. All joking aside, you asked to debate me again just last week. I laughed. I brought you up to Michael and Jack, and they had no idea who you were. This is why I debated Alex Stein instead in Phoenix. We sold out tickets. I wish you luck with your YouTube Super Chat career, begging your 100 fans for money. All joking aside, Merry Christmas. Lowell, I did not ask to debate you last week. MDD reached out to me and asked if I would debate you. I said yes. Apparently you declined. Thanks for wishing me well, though. I still am not gonna let you see my penis, though. El Mayo, neither me or anyone else wants to see that. The insult was, when was the last time you saw your penis, Rob? I declined because we already debated, and nobody knows who the fuck you are. Good luck with your YouTube begging, and have a good night. I know you are upset. I decline to show you my penis, but no need to lie. This is why you will never be any more than a YouTube super chat unknown beg clown. I have an event with the governor today, paid debates tomorrow and next week. You have the same 100 listeners who you will beg for donations. Good luck with that and your amazing career. I will never be known because I pointed out you are lying about asking to see my penis. Great talk, Rob, one day. You might take those Andrew Wilson simp knee pads off. You are invisible and irrelevant. I have work to do. Mute. Don't project just because you are obsessed with seeing dude's penis. But I understand you need to get back to work. More women to send harassing DMs to, I suppose. Could be, or could be getting paid for speaking engagements and debates. I have only been doing scheduled debates outside my show for 6 months, and I get paid. You have been doing this for a decade, and nobody pays you. What does that say about your YouTube begging career? Hell no, bye-bye, Rob winning! Wow, you are impressive! Still not letting you see my penis, though.
There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. The epic spat in a form of operatic dialogue of robnoerr versus Brian Shapiro. I really think the last line really hits it off. Despite the entire argument, the truth is, he's still not going to see my penis. It's not going to happen. Now, I may find myself in position here soon where I'm at the same event as Brian Shapiro. Maybe I'll be going to some Crucible events where people in the Crucible will be debating Brian Shapiro. And I got to be honest, I'm a little worried. I'm a little worried that this man's not going to be able to control himself. I'm trying to get over the PTSD of Penisgate. I really am. Just knowing that a powerful syndicated radio host that has over 1 million people a day that watch him is demanding to see my penis, it's a bit unnerving. I'll be honest. He sends very intimidating DMs, particularly to women, and it's a bit unnerving. And you know, with someone like him, with a syndicated radio show, with 2 million plus people that watch a day, he's just got an army of loyal fans. And here he is, this powerful man who's respected. I don't know, maybe he called Jack Posobiec. Maybe he called Michael Knowles. Hey, can you guys talk to Rob? See if he'll show me his penis? Can you do something? I don't know. It's difficult when a well-respected man like that is making these sorts of demands. And I just don't know if I go to one of these events. Who knows how many of his 5 million people a day that listen to his syndicated radio show could be there and make these demands as well, that I show Brian my penis. Very difficult. So, as much as there's real news to cover, and we'll get to there, I just wanted to get that off my chest. This guy, he's been, just the New York Times the other day, I mentioned him. He has this syndicated radio show, something like 20 million people a day watch his show. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. And he's demanding to see my penis. And I just want to let you know, no matter what the cost, no matter how much it affects me mentally, I want to make one promise to you out there in the audience. Even if a powerful man like Brian Shapiro, with over 50 million people a day that watch his syndicated radio show, even if he demands it, my promise to you is this: I will not show Brian Shapiro my penis. You take that to the bank. I'm not going to show him, no matter how many times he demands it, no matter how insatiable he is to try to see my penis. I will not give in. Someone has to draw a line in the sand. We won't let powerful syndicated radio hosts that have so much respect, where 100 million people a day watch their show. We will not live in a society where they may demand to see your penis and get their way. I will not give in. Because it's not just my penis he wants to see. It's yours. And I'm what comes between him and seeing your penis. I'm not going to let it happen. We stay strong for you all. And that's a promise. So it's difficult to talk about this stuff. It really is. I appreciate you all's support during this time. Financial, moral, I really do. Maybe we'll come back to this operatic song later in the night. But we have to try to move on. I find the best way, when you have a syndicated radio host with 250 million people a day that listen to them, demanding to see your penis, I find the best thing to do is to move on and to talk about other things. So that's what we're going to do. So that was our Brian Shapiro segment for the day.
He harasses women in messages, has a weird infatuation with men's organs. He's a syndicated radio host, and it's all about respect. He's Brian Shapiro.
Sorry, I'm delirious. I'm laughing there. So, all right, let's read some super chats, and then we're going to get into actual news stories today. Brian Shapiro, that bastard, that evil bastard, Brian Shapiro. Brian, if you're listening, feel free to suggest calling in. Content's great. You know, maybe I could work through my emotional damage. Super chats, Naughty Germ, thank you as always, my friend, $5. Your support's really helped me get through this tough time of Penisgate. I can't thank you enough. Jay, thanks for the $5. Says greedy, corrupt bastard. Fun one, thank you. Much appreciated. Jim Hayes, $20 says, hey Rob, thanks for everything. Not one step back. Stay strong, brother. Thank you. Really appreciate it. Blasterbuck gives 5, says, you can see how much respect he has as he lovingly cups the you know the thing. What? What are you talking about? Oh, I see. H-Man, what's up? Let me take that picture off. Rob, it's called tradition. You get a man to show his head of hair, then you have to show your penis. See, I missed that. I'm just from rural Pennsylvania. We didn't have those traditions. For us, it wasn't cool. We weren't cool syndicated radio hosts with 500 million people a day that listen. We weren't like that. So we didn't know about, how it's cool to demand to see other dudes' penises. We didn't know that. So I'm learning this now, but I'm not giving in. Agent Xer, thanks for being a member, man. Appreciate it. Lysol operator, $10 says, Rob, I typically don't disagree, but after the January 6th debate, I think Destiny realized how poorly it went and how much he stands to lose to a smaller YouTuber streamer. Nothing to gain and a ton to lose. Well, whether he did then or not, he certainly realized after the insurrection debate where he raged out and then blacklisted me. And the only reason he talked to me after that, I think, is because say what you want about me. But one thing that's usually pretty reliable is, unless someone makes it personal with me, I don't really make it personal with them. And so Destiny knows he could debate me, and I'm not going to be talking about his pending lawsuit, and I'm not going to be talking about his marriage. And so I could be wrong, but I think to some degree, after Destiny blacklisted me, when he unblacklisted me to have that debate about, ironically, Obama's team engaged in corruption with Crossfire Hurricane, which he got smoked in as always, I think it was a bit of a distraction. I think he probably got tired of constantly discussing his personal life, and it was like, look, at least I know fucking Rob will give me a debate on politics. You know? So, AJC, $5, hashtag Peengate. Thank you, man. Thank you for the support. Blasterbot, absolute legend, $100, unreal. Crushing it. Says, well, Rob's internet begging career isn't going anywhere. Sad. At least we got dinosaurs that are really cool. The 3 periods they lived in were the Triassic, Jurassic, and Cretaceous. Now, I remind you all, in June, we will be having the first annual Blasterbot Dino Battle Invitational, where I have this epic machine. It's calibrated scientifically to give you the answers of some of the most famous dinosaurs in history fought. You'll all have the chance to donate to claim one of those dinosaurs for yourself. Then we'll compete in bloody battle to see who ultimately earns the first Blasterbot Dino Battle Normal America Trophy. It should be epic. That'll be coming up in June. Details to follow. Unforced Ego, what's happening, my man? $50. It's been a while because Fish Tank Live was live. Also, I hate Brian Shapiro so much, man. Thanks, Unforced Ego. It's always great to hear you, and thanks so much for the dono. Yeah, that Brian Shapiro, though, he's a syndicated radio host with 1 billion people a day. 1 billion people a day that listen to him live. So even though some people dislike him, he's clearly one of the most popular people going, you know? Bandit, $2 says, Rob, how does anyone watch a radio show? A normal one, you can't. But a powerful syndicated radio host like Brian Shapiro that has literally 2 billion people a day, at that point, they are watching, even if they're just staring at the wall, imagining him. Death Takes, $5 says, yes, King, slay. I'm honored to be the last line of defense between Brian Shapiro seeing your penises. Flare Riot, $2 says, that's my no-no square. Oh, that's my favorite. Stop. Don't touch me there. This is my no-no square. Boop, 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 boop. I remember that. A Reed, $10 says, here for you, Rob. Here for everyone. Thank you. What can a small community like me and you neurons out there do against a syndicated radio host with 5 billion people, 5 billion people a day that watch him? What can we do? So I'm glad we're all here for each other. Jim Hayes, another $10. Thanks. Says Shapiro's a twisted freak. His demands are sick. I couldn't have said it better. Thank you. Robert Whaley, $2 says, was Brian mentioned on Joe Rogan? Didn't think so. Joe's not big enough to mention Brian Shapiro. Is Joe Rogan a syndicated radio host with 5 billion people a day that watch? I don't think so. Mechanical Mike, $5. Thank you, man. Gully, $20 says, if you do have an interaction with Brian at one of these events, it must be documented. Not because that can't make it want to see, but for your safety, Rob. Yeah, I mean, exactly. It could be something that, you know, goes into textbooks on how to protect oneself from predators or something. Mr. Prometheus, $5 says, we got married in Indiana and honeymooning in Vegas now. Sphere tonight. Congratulations, man. If you didn't know, Mr. Prometheus actually got engaged at DebateCon. Now officially married in Vegas. Good luck to you. If you're a gambler, if not, have fun at the Sphere. All well wishes to you, man. Congratulations to both of you. Vita, $2 says, someone posted on X a vid of Shapiro asking for donos. I saw that. But hey, when he asks for donos, that's not online begging. He's a syndicated radio host with 10 billion people a day that watch his program, so it's not begging. And then a fellow Rob LC, becomes a member. Thank you. Over on the Rumble side of things, thank you so much. I see you, Werbs. $5 says, Penisgate 2026, a dark time in American history. What can we do? The real tragedy would be if we find out that the Southern Poverty Law Center is paying people to demand to see my penis. Then what? Tragedy. Horrible. All right, we're going to try to move on and get to more serious discussions. So if you missed it, the Southern Poverty Law Center, which has worked in official capacity with law enforcement agencies and intel agencies and is sort of the premier cultural institution that everybody just relies on as a default for hate groups. They've long since been a joke. And in fact, we've covered them before on this show. Terrible things they've done. People like Dinesh D'Souza, Charlie Kirk, Turning Point USA, that they've put on their hate watch group. Of course, then when violence is directed towards those people, like Charlie Kirk, who was assassinated, they just sit around. I remember doing a show once where we were covering how there's all these examples of left-wing violence, and one of the people at the Southern Poverty Law Center was like, well, we don't really want to focus on left-wing violence. So they bill themselves as this down-the-middle, totally nonpartisan, just trying to root out extremism. But in reality, all they're doing is being interested in calling right-wing groups extremist so that culturally, politically, and legally, you can attack those right-wing groups. And it works. Even normies just accepted a lot of what the Southern Poverty Law Center said. And if you go back and you focus on a group that's been deemed radical, extreme, etc., you could bet your ass that somewhere in that chain, Southern Poverty Law Center was there publicly calling that group extremist, whether it be the Proud Boys, whether it be Patriot Front, whether it be Unite the Right, the Charlottesville Rally, etc. There they were. There was the Southern Poverty Law Center. And even more egregiously, they were sometimes directly used by government and law enforcement when it turned out on how Congress people were citing extremist groups in the halls of Congress on record, or law enforcement investigating groups that they deemed extremist. All blatantly partisan, blatantly non-neutral. The whole charade is always that these groups that have this veneer of they're the official source, whether it be some academic group, some media group, some law enforcement or Biden agency, or a group like the Southern Poverty Law Center. And then when you debate dumb people like the aforementioned Brian Shapiro, what they're able to do is point to these things and have this fallacy of like expertise. Well, they're the experts. This is what they tell us. Now, if you ever had any questions about this, COVID should have put that far from your mind. When thousands of experts were telling us COVID was so severe that we couldn't leave our homes to do simple things like go to church, send our kids to school. But they said you could go march for Black Lives Matter because you know what was worse than COVID? Racism. But don't worry, because magically, this is the first virus in history that has political preferences. Somehow it knew not to spread at the Black Lives Matter rally. Amazing. The instances are too many to count of what we were told to blindly trust because it was science, only to later find out that it was a blatant lie or it was just made up bullshit. Like 6 feet distancing? How'd you come up with that? That was their explanation afterwards. I don't know. It just sounded like a nice number. But you were censored online for fucking disagreeing. Remember Dr. Fauci said, to disagree with me is to disagree with science. Remember that? So but we have to trust the experts should have went right out the fucking window there. And make no mistake, it's not just the medical or pharmaceutical community. Same's true with foreign policy. Same's true with domestic issues. So much of what we rely on are studies that come from universities that are overwhelmingly radically left-wing. So you'll be told over and over things like this. Well, the medical industry agrees that giving these hormone blockers to children is reversible and it's a good thing. And surgery and removing people's anatomy, even when they're underage, makes people less likely to self-harm. All of it bullshit. Easily, just by looking, be like, wait, what? For example, you can see that almost everyone that started on hormone blockers never transitioned back to their sex assigned at birth, but almost everyone that was given the blockers magically persisted through. By the way, persisted through to a lifetime of pain, of mental anguish. They didn't give a fuck. They were making money. Over and over, I debated this subject, but the science says, this study says, painstakingly, I would go through the study. Not just me, thousands of people. These studies are bullshit. Look. Just now, we're starting to get to that point. We have another story maybe I'll cover today. We covered on the extravaganza. Just now, you're starting to see normie media people, left-wing media people in the UK go, maybe we did let in too many people from places like Afghanistan that we don't know anything about. Maybe we did. Of course, fuck, to even say that, you could get locked up in the United Kingdom, but trust the experts. Here in the United States, we're told by everyone from Libertarian Think Tank to Cato Institute to damn near every left-wing academic institution in the country that not only are illegals not a problem, they're better than regular Americans. They commit less crime. They're more productive. They're fantastic. No downside. So as small border towns, basically primarily made up of Hispanic people, we're suffocating. We can't take these numbers of illegals that are coming across. As they were being called racist, ironically, Hispanic people being called racist by ivory tower white people. Eventually, someone finally smartened up and said, fuck it, then let's send these illegals to the white neighborhoods, the liberal sanctuary cities like Martha's Vineyard. How'd that go? For some reason, these well-educated people in Martha's Vineyard, one of the richest fucking people in the country, they didn't want the illegals. They shipped them out in fucking 2 days. And that was only 50. Imagine hundreds of thousands. How could that be? All of the experts told us they're a great boon. Doesn't Martha's Vineyard read the experts? And yet still we persist. Ah, the experts say, the experts say, the experts say. Ah, the court said Trump's a felon. That's all that matters. So you're saying whatever the courts say, go. If they've ever called someone a felon, then they must be a bit, they're guilty of that crime, no matter what. Yeah. Oh, cool. Let's go back to like all the black American cases that you've been. Well, that was different. But that's the game. Now, luckily, more and more people are waking up. But the game overwhelmingly has been ignore the evidence that you can see right in front of your face. It's all bullshit because some professor says something. Ignore that all through 2020, the entire summer, you could turn on your TV on damn near any night and see a violent Black Lives Matter protest. Yet, the Cato Institute and the Center for Strategic Intelligence Studies and all these groups said, actually, it's right-wing violence. And boy, oh boy, did they love citing the Southern Poverty Law Center, didn't they? I talked about it today. You remember the Covington Catholic kids? This was the story where you had these Catholic kids that were going to the March for Life. And supposedly they surrounded this Native American, Nathan Phillips, the keeper of the sacred pipe. Nathan Phillips. And the real story was, Nathan Phillips saw some adults who happened to be black yelling at these kids who happened to be mostly white, but not all. Calling them racial slurs, calling them homophobic slurs. And Nathan Phillips sees these adults fighting with these kids, shouting all these slurs, and decides he's going to intervene on the behalf of the adults. And of course, those adults, it was the first time I really heard of this group, was the Black Hebrew Israelites. Of course, they were connected to all sorts of crimes, including murders, beheadings out of Florida, shit like that. New York Times ends up writing a puff piece on the Black Hebrew Israelites. The final line in that puff piece, I shit you not, we could look it up later if you want, was some black professor of like African American studies or some bullshit saying, listen, if you're white and you're wondering, if you're fearful of the Black Hebrew Israelites, reminder that just seeing a MAGA hat is more hateful to us than the group saying you're going to kill people and murdering people. Just a MAGA hat is more hateful. That's what we were told. And I remember through that whole experience, I was learning about the Black Hebrew Israelites. Something that really stuck out to me, I think it was, this is an odd combination of people. It was either Seth Rogen or I believe the guy's name is John DiMaggio, the guy who voiced the character Bender on Futurama, who does a lot of voiceover work. It was one of those two. I think it was Seth Rogen, but I remember reading both of them talking about this. And Seth Rogen was like, oh yeah, you see these dudes on like pretty much every street corner in the city, or you see them on a street corner in almost every city in America. And I was like, what? Violent black supremacist racist just harassing people in every city in America, and we're all just like, oh well. Meanwhile, we're told that we still have to fear the boogeyman of the KKK. Oh, they're everywhere. These Klansmen. Where? I told this story again. Apologies if you heard it on the extravaganza. When I was like 11 or 12, we used to go, I mentioned this the other day, we'd go see my grandpa and grandma in the nursing home every Wednesday, Saturday, and Sunday. So we lived in this one small town, and it was like 20 minutes away, this other small town where the nursing home was. So we're going through one day, and there's just basically one main street in this little town, and traffic's way backed up, like something's going on. And as we get closer, at the courthouse, there's 6 KKK members. One of them's got a bullhorn, and he's like, talking. And then they're handing out flyers to people that want them. And across the street is probably 70 people yelling at them. Fuck you! Everybody white, by the way. Probably, I'd be surprised if there's a black person in the whole town. So this wasn't like blacks yelling at the KKK. This is white people yelling at the Klan. That's what's going on. And the Klan guys, I remember I was like 11 or 12. I was like, even then, I knew what they were. Violent heathens that were going to show up to hang people that were a different color, or people that sympathized or didn't like them. That's what they were. And you heard these guys talking. By the way, I'm not saying they're a good thing, but when you heard them talking, it was like, we want political representation. We think it's okay for white people to stick together. Now, maybe they have more nefarious shit going on behind the scenes. I'm not here to say that. But the part that really stuck out with me was in this little white town, in today's parlance, the Klan was getting ratioed to shit. Fuck you! Everyone. But I'm told that this is the group, man. Woo! Watch yourself, man. This group, they're running shit. What are you talking about? Now, what we've come to learn is something that people have said many times, myself included, that the demand for white supremacy in this country is far higher than the supply. You see, the establishment, and particularly the left and the Democrats that represent them, they really, really, really need that boogeyman. They need it. They don't really have policies that are defensible anymore, so they need that boogeyman. But see, here's the thing. That's not enough anymore. Guys and bed sheets aren't enough. What if you could make it so your opposition, every one of their supporters are guys in bed sheets? That's the real angle, isn't it? What if you could treat an entire political movement as that? And all you got to do is get enough normies on board and that shit'll fly. So that's where we were. That's the story of how we enter into the story of yesterday, which is the indictment of the Southern Poverty Law Center. Now, we'll probably go through the actual indictment, if not today, which we may get to at a later date. But it's amazing of what's going on. First thing to know is the case hinges around the idea of wire fraud, and anyone telling you that it's an open and shut case one way or the other is full of shit. We'll have to see more evidence as it gets presented. I believe, I follow a lot of people. One of the theories that I agree with is they didn't name specifics that they're indicting. They named the organization. My guess is that the next step will be bringing in specific people from the Southern Poverty Law Center and sort of seeing who's willing to cooperate and who's not. That'd be my guess. They had enough that a grand jury thought that an indictment was warranted, and we'll see where they go from here. The first thing I have to say is this to anyone on the left that's bitching about this. The bar for starting an investigation is very low. No one's above the law. As far as I'm concerned, any impropriety that there's any amount of evidence for any of these left-wing groups should result in a law enforcement investigation, and any crime whatsoever that they commit should be charged. Every fucking time. I don't want to make up evidence. I don't want to investigate people corruptly for no reason. But I heard the Democrats in unison tell me over and over and over for 8 fucking years now. No one's above the law. The bar for starting an investigation's very low. So every time they wanted to investigate Trump or anyone connected to Trump, they were like, hey, prosecutorial discretion. Hey, no one's above the law. Hey, the bar for starting an investigation's very low. Okie dokie. Now, it's been to my great chagrin that the Trump administration hasn't reciprocated in kind. And even still, just going after the Southern Poverty Law Center is only scratching the tip of the iceberg. I don't know how many times I've said it on this show. Does Trump not understand? They're going to bury him and his entire family. They're not even being secretive about it. We just got John Eastman disbarred out in California, Trump's former attorney. So make no mistake, they're playing for keeps. I'm not suggesting doing anything illegal. I'm saying operate within the full extent within the confines of the law. And I've been told over and over, nothing wrong with that. No problem whatsoever. The bar for starting investigations is very low, and no one's above the law, so no one, if there's any allegation of untowardness, investigate. If there's any proof that that was criminal, charge. Every time. So any Democrat that's out there right now saying, this is weaponization, my response to you from the bottom of my heart is, go fuck yourself. I hope that it's visited 100-fold upon you. May you and the people that cheered for the lawfare face those consequences yourself. Because until that happens, it will never end. That's where we're at. Because the left felt that they were so morally superior to their opponents that everything was on the table, up to and including assassinations of people like Charlie Kirk. I'm not suggesting personal violence. What I'm suggesting is utilize the tools within the confines of the law to the fullest extent to make those that broke the law feel the pain that they sought to exert on others. The selective application and the two-tier justice system has gone on for too long with no one pushing back. The argument of, oh, but if we just sit back and don't use the legal system like that, it'll all be corrected, is bullshit. These people will not stop until they face the consequences they sought to enforce upon other people. So, I'm celebrating today. Cheers. Cheers to everyone. It might be a small victory, but great. I hope the Southern Poverty Law Center and all their donos are sleeping very uncomfortably this evening. Cheers. Now, will this result in actual conviction shit? I don't know. Probably not. Until I actually see them, I'll continue to say probably not. My understanding is they're bringing these cases outside of D.C., which is smart. But let's talk a little about what this means. I mentioned at the outset of the show, there are these seminal moments from the Democrat perspective of shit. These key moments leading into the Trump second term that are the building blocks for the entire case that they have to justify mass censorship of conservatives online, authoritarian policies under things like COVID, authoritarian policies like keeping Trump off the ballot, cheering for him getting kicked off of places like Twitter. All of this shit. It's all justified because of these stories, these seminal moments. The first was Russiagate itself. Now, I've talked about Russiagate an awful lot. We're going to talk about it more in the coming weeks. Hopefully, I'm still not holding my breath, but the truth will come out. I've talked about it enough. Let's see if anyone in my audience remembers. What is the inciting, we were told the official story. What is the inciting moment for the opening of Crossfire Hurricane? What was it? Wasn't the Steele dossier. That is not true. Originally, that's what we were told, but that was not now what the FBI claims. It was not Christopher Steele. When the FBI decided to open Crossfire Hurricane, it was based on a man named George Papadopoulos. Very good, GG. Papadopoulos was this low-level dude that was in the Trump campaign. You have to understand this. Trump is running on training the swamp. Did a very poor job of it. Understand this. One of the things that you can at least give him somewhat of an excuse of is everyone that's qualified on paper for the jobs that you need to fill, and Trump even talked about this on Joe Rogan's show before the 2024 election. He was shocked at how many people he had to appoint. The same's true of running a campaign. There's a lot of people. But if you're running on draining the swamp, no one from the swamp is realistically going to be fit for your administration. So you end up with like a bunch of relative unknowns. And George Papadopoulos is one of those guys. We're told Crossfire Hurricane started because Papadopoulos talked to an Australian diplomat by the name of Alexander Downer. And allegedly Papadopoulos got drunk and said, "Let me tell you something, Alex. The Russians have emails about Hillary Clinton." Incidentally, I've looked further into this. He didn't even mention emails, I don't think. He's just said, like, I think the Russians might have dirt, is basically what he said. Then once the infamous DNC hack occurs, the FBI says, it must be that Trump's campaign guy had foreknowledge of Russia hacking the DNC. So the inciting incidents are George Papadopoulos and the hack of the DNC. And what we'll find is both are bullshit. The most likely explanation for the hack of the DNC was an internal leak, probably by Seth Rich. But the story that we're told on that makes no sense. Let's go through it real quick. The FBI, as per policy, asked for the DNC server and was declined. They were not allowed to get the DNC server. Instead, they received a copy of the server made by CrowdStrike, who was a firm that the DNC had paid. The FBI then took that copy and came to the conclusion that because these Russians basically left their digital signature, that it was clearly Russians that did this hack. That's what we're told. They never demanded to see the server. The DNC didn't demand to give over the real server. Of course, we found that CrowdStrike made similar claims about other hacks. We're told they were wrong, like in the government of Ukraine. But nonetheless, forget that for a second. The story of George Papadopoulos is even more ridiculous. I'll make it quick. The gist of it is this. George Papadopoulos met this guy that, according to the FBI, is the central Russian spy figure, a Maltese professor by the name of Joseph Misfit. Now, Joseph Misfit worked at several colleges that had connections to Western intelligence, including UK intelligence, the CIA, and Italian intelligence. His friends later would testify they all assumed that he was working for Western intelligence. No one ever thought that he could possibly be working for Russian intelligence. But allegedly, Joseph Misfit was this Russian spy who got in contact with with George Papadopoulos and put him in contact with another Russian. This Russian telling Papadopoulos, hey, we have some emails about Hillary Clinton. Papadopoulos goes back to the Trump campaign. Trump campaign's like, yeah, don't do that. No, not interested. There, that's it. That's your big story. Now, of course, Joseph Misfit, who was the central Russian spy, not my words, this is the FBI and Bob Mueller's claims. For some reason, even though the FBI said they had him completely nailed, that he lied to the FBI, a crime which they saw fit to charge a decorated military veteran like General Flynn with, for some reason, they chose to not charge this Russian spy. But Rob, that's because he's Russian and they couldn't have brought him. And yet they charged 17 Russians in the Internet Research Agency, who they also knew would never be extradited. So why not charge the central Russian spy that lied to you? No explanation. When Jim Jordan asked Bob Mueller this, Bob Mueller drooled on himself and then said he wasn't going to discuss prosecutorial decisions. Because the truth is, what we're going to find out, if the truth ever comes out, is Joseph Misfit was working for UK intelligence. He was working for Western intelligence. And that actually what had happened was that the West, whether it be the UK on its own or most likely with the help of the Obama administration's intel agencies, planted a story, told Papadopoulos about the story, and then later said the fact they told Papadopoulos about the story justified the entire investigation into Trump. A setup from the beginning. In equivalent, they planted the drugs on him and said, look, there's drugs, and justified that for the investigation. That's what we're likely to find. The next event was Charlottesville, we'll talk about here in a moment in great length. The next event was the Ukrainian impeachment. Remember, the Ukrainian impeachment started almost immediately as Russiagate fell through. Now we're finding out all sorts of problems. There are charges being filed against Eric Charmella, the whistleblower that we weren't allowed to hear about. Turns out that he was duplicitous and lying on these forms, and the inspector general that allowed it, who changed the forms and changed the language, and that this was a political hit from the get-go. One of the things that the establishment is amazing at doing is weaponizing their weakness against their opponents. So we know for a fact that Hillary Clinton's team knew that her connections to Russia would be a weakness. Uranium One scandal that her department signed off on mere weeks after her own husband, Bill Clinton, personally met with Vladimir Putin himself, only to be paid $500,000 by a Russian state-owned bank. Wow, that's a weakness for us. You know what we should do? Accuse Trump of working with Russians. Bam. How did they do it? Well, they worked with a one-time suspected Russian spy named Igor Dushenko to filter the information to the Obama FBI that was more than happy to jump on board and illegally spy on the Trump team. All the while, we were told, for 4 fucking years, we were told you are ridiculous conspiracy theorists for believing it. It's absolute bullshit. Every step of the way. Until eventually, once it turned out everything we said was accurate, they just shrugged their shoulders and go, oh well, it's a long time ago. Next. The Ukrainian impeachment was them weaponizing that Joe Biden issued a quid pro quo of $1 billion American tax dollars in the form of a guaranteed loan to Ukrainian government if they fired the prosecutor that was investigating his son's company. The quid pro quo worked. Fired the prosecutor, brought in a new prosecutor that Biden liked, who immediately dropped the charges against the company, allowing, not my words again, but the Obama administration's words, the Russian oligarch Zlochevsky back into the country of Ukraine. Came back laughing his ass off because his connections, which by the way, him and his team was constantly pressuring Hunter Biden, who was on the board of directors, and Devin Archer, his assistant, or his buddy, to lobby back home to get the charges against them dropped. Paid off nicely. And for a mere $74,000 a month or whatever it was. See though, they had to impeach Trump for inquiring about it. Take your weakness, we were corrupt when it came to Ukraine, and then make it your strength. It's actually Trump that's corrupt for wanting to look into it. By the way, it's the same thing they'll do here. It's not that the Southern Poverty Law Center is corrupt, it's that Trump's corrupt for looking into it. Always the same story. They act with corruption. When the other side says, okay, we're going to look into this, they say, that's corrupt. So if Trump's team's looking into Letitia James or Fani Willis, that's corrupt. See how it works? January 6th, pipe bomber story, bullshit. For some reason, none of them cared about the pipe bomber. Easily the most serious event that occurred in the day of January 6th. They can't figure that out. The next event that they talked about in January 6th, the gallows. Have no clue who built the gallows. They went after everyone with an iron fist that did anything so much as set a foot on the Capitol perimeter. And yet people like Ray Epps that were intentionally telling people for 2 nights to break into the Capitol, mum's the word. Incidentally, you remember how there were denials about whether or not Ray Epps was a Fed? What if those denials are true and actually he was working for the Southern Poverty Law Center and the FBI knew it, which is why he was given a sweetheart deal? Think it's possible? So they'd say, well, we told you over and over he wasn't a Fed. Technically true. He was just getting paid by the Southern Poverty Law Center that was cooperating with the feds. We were told there were no feds in the crowd. Later turned out that wasn't true. There were plenty of feds in the crowd. We had Capitol Chief's son eviscerate the official narrative. The guy that was responsible for protecting the Capitol talked about wanting the National Guard the day before and the day of, was denied repeatedly. Basically said after he put two and two together, he realized he was being directly denied by Nancy Pelosi. But there's still far more to come out about January 6th. These moments, Russiagate, Charlottesville, Ukraine impeachment, January 6th, these laid the groundwork for the entire criminalization of not just Trump and his team, but also the cultural momentum to bash Trump and his supporters as criminal, rotten, etc., etc. And one by one, they fall apart. Now, the defense of the Southern Poverty Law Center here is going to be, oh, they were just paying informants. That's all. They were paying informants. The specific charges has to do with the way they were being paid, which is tantamount to wire fraud. Again, we'll see. But they'll say, no. It's not that they're financing white supremacy, extremism, etc. It's that they're paying people within that to expose it. That's going to be the first line of defense. The next line of defense is going to be, who gives a shit about Charlottesville? So let's talk about that for a minute. Just like with Russiagate, where I debated people for years, and they fought tooth and nail and said I was a ridiculous conspiracy theorist, only to later be forced to say things like, yes, it was regrettable. Or Destiny, it was a long time ago. Of course, you're right. Of course, the investigation started uncorrupted. I've always said that. That's what he said the last time I debated him. That's the take. Whatever. No big deal. It was a long time ago. I don't really remember the details. Anyways, who's living in the past? Says the people that incessantly focus on January 6th to this day. That'll be the same with Charlottesville. So what? Long time ago. Who gives a shit? Over and done with now. The truth is, Charlottesville was important for many reasons. God rest his soul, Scott Adams talked about how this might have been the most consequential hoax in the history of the country. They basically convinced half the country that Donald Trump literally said Nazis were good people. I can't think of a more radicalizing message. What would you do truly if you thought that the leader of the United States was a Nazi? What would you do? By the way, the same people that made that claim on the left are now claiming that Donald Trump is controlled by Netanyahu and he's a Jewish supremacist. But just 4 years ago, they were telling you he's a Nazi. January 6th was not the destruction of democracy, and you're a rube for thinking so. All of the things we talked about here were far more damaging to democracy. Nonetheless, but you can see, even from those comments, even from someone who's like, I'm going to watch Jay Dyer, Ortho Bros rule, but January 6th was destruction of our democracy. You see? You see how insidious these lies are? Now, anyways. So they convinced half the country that Trump said Nazis were good people, and this was repeated over and over and over again by mainstream media sources. Baited. Hey, thanks for the bait, man. Appreciate it. Enjoy your time out. I don't want to risk getting baited again. So we see that this hoax was tantamount to literally weaponizing half the country to think that Donald Trump was a Nazi. Now, I talked about at the time, I was on a blog called Above Top Secret. And on Above Top Secret, I was talking to this guy. I told this story the other day. I'll be quick about it. He was a socialist or a communist or something. His name was True Brit. He went by the name True Brit. And basically, he said that after Charlottesville, any person who continued to support Donald Trump was, in fact, a Nazi. And that if they were going to win the next election, then we should genocide them all. Literally his argument. We don't kill you at first. And I talk about this a lot. To them, you are evil. You are. If you're a Trump supporter, you're evil. If you're Trump, you're evil. And they're not going to outright kill you. Charlie Kirk wasn't killed for being an extremist. Charlie Kirk was killed for being effective. And so, remember the other day we were talking about Destiny's mod that was telling Destiny, hey, your community here is having school shooter vibes. And I told you, if you went back and you looked at the Reddit around the time that the Trump assassination, their rhetoric, which was repeating Destiny's rhetoric, was, hey, we tried to win at the ballot box. We tried to win with the courts. That didn't work. Okay. There's an answer for that. Then we'll use violence. That's how they feel. So escalating stages of force. Okay, if we can't beat you here at the bottom level, then we'll demand you get censored. And if we can't do that, well, then we'll dox you. And if that doesn't work, well, then we'll threaten you and use violence. And if that doesn't work, well, then there's an answer for that too. And that, there were thousands of people, if not hundreds of thousands or millions, that were like, oh my God, Trump is an open Nazi. His supporters are Nazis because of Charlottesville. Charlottesville also allowed the lumping in of the term alt-right. And to attack anyone that you disagreed with that was a Trump supporter is alt-right. And to silence them and get them banned, etc., etc. It also led to mass amounts of money being put into groups like the Southern Poverty Law Center and other groups. And then, of course, perhaps most consequential of all, Joe Biden claimed that the reason he decided to run for president in the 2020 election was he heard Trump say Nazis were fine people. A lie. Now, back when this happened, I was covering Charlottesville. I went thread after thread. I did all this research, gathering as much video evidence as I could about Charlottesville. And it was astonishing to watch the videos and now hear people who were there talk about what happened. Unfortunately, that website, Above Top Secret, is now defunct, so it's hard for me to get my thread that I wrote there. And even beyond that, many of the videos that were up on YouTube from there got removed, so you can't even see. But these were videos of people that were on the ground filming, like from their phones or their GoPros, etc. Here's basically what happened. The second day of the Unite the Right rally, Unite the Right people were there, and some of them have like ball bats or weapons of some sort. And the Antifa people in that group shows up. And they have like shields and bats and weapons. And the police have a line in between them. And basically the police started ushering out the Unite the Right people straight into the Antifa people. So instead of keeping the line and being like, okay, you people go this way and you people go this way, they were like, we're going to make them go together. And you probably don't remember, but obviously Heather Heyer, the woman who was ran over, that became the big story. But there were also a lot of video that was coming out in the weeks after Charlottesville showing, look at this, unite the right people beating someone. But then over and over, I would watch, and almost every time what you saw was the unite the right people would be far outnumbered in getting the shit beat out of them. And the police just sat there and let it happen. Then, of course, with Heather Heyer, you had people surrounding a car. Dude panics, hits the gas, runs over someone. Of course, open and shot, because he's an alt-righter. These were neo-Nazis. But they intentionally set up a violent confrontation, even the police. There were even people on the ground from like the ACLU and shit that were like, this is atrocious. What are the police doing? Why? Why would they want that? Now we know. From the indictment. F-37 was a member of the online leadership chat group that planned the 2017 Unite the Right event in Charlottesville, Virginia, and attended the event at the direction of the SPLC. F-37 made racist postings under the supervision of the Southern Poverty Law Center and helped coordinate transportation to the event for several attendees. Between 2015 and 2023, Southern Poverty Law Center secretly paid F-37 more than $270,000. Now, when you hear the left say, well, they just paid some informants. By the way, it's just one story. They just paid some informants. No. It's not like they gave a couple $1,000 to someone and say, tell us what you knew. Or can you go there and tell us what's happening? They paid the leaders, at least one leader in this case, who not only was responsible in the chat groups for organizing, apparently, part of the organization, but also for transportation. And they didn't pay them a couple $1,000. They paid them $250,000. Now, again, I'll talk to my attorney friend Ryan Mullally, and we're going to get into the specifics of the wire fraud that's alleged. But remember, one of the crimes being alleged here is wire fraud. The way in which they sent and concealed the money was fraudulent itself. We shall see. But I want you to think about this for a second. If the defense to this action is going to be no wrongdoing in there, no problem there. They were just spending their money in order to infiltrate this group and destroy the group from the inside. At what point does it go from you're sending a couple of bucks to get some information from inside a group to you're paying the leadership that then commits crimes? When do you become responsible for that? Now think about this for a second. Does anyone remember the case, we've talked about it several times in this show, of Pam Geller having a Draw Muhammad contest somewhere in Texas many moons ago? And what happened, and this is in court records, we can see it, what happens is the FBI radicalized this Muslim guy to be like, you should stop that shit. You should stop it. So he did, by opening fire. Court documents said that there was an FBI agent behind the radical Muslim shooter when he started shooting. The FBI agent fled. He left. Local police had to take the guy down. Now, this was an instance of what Ron Paul used to talk about a lot. That like 1/3 of the terrorist incidents that the FBI has claimed to have stopped were actually terrorist incidents that they themselves created. They'll find some autistic Muslim guy and convince the dude by showing him titty pics to fucking go out and go in some scheme only to arrest him before it occurs. Now, this is shady enough when it's the FBI doing it. Now we have independent groups doing this? And what happens if it goes wrong? So what if the Southern Poverty Law Center pays some white nationalist, hey man, here's fucking $50,000 a year, man. Get us some shit, dig us some dirt. And that white supremacist guy goes, great, I'm gonna take this $50,000, I'm gonna give it to my gang, and we're gonna go buy some meth. And then they go to buy the meth, and there's a shootout. Now the Southern Poverty Law Center just gave $50,000 to what they're calling a terrorist group, a gang, who then used it in the commission of violent acts. Do we just say, oh, well, Southern Poverty Law Center was trying to do the right thing? Oh, well, they intentionally funded terrorism. Ha ha! How can we think that that's something that you could just be like, what can you do? Do you remember? Oh, this is going to be a real stretch. So, of course, at Charlottesville, you had on night 1 the dude show up with tiki torches, right? Night 2, which incidentally, complete aside, but remember, we were told that, okay, they were saying hateful shit and whatever. Great, fine, grand. Fuck, you should hear what the average lefty says on a college campus. But okay, sure. But they didn't commit any violence, and we were told, but they surrounded people, and that in itself was an act of violence. Really? Care to watch any fucking anti-ICE protest? How's Savannah Hernandez doing as she was surrounded? It's funny how that works, right? When the left wants to surround you, when they want to chase Riley Gaines and surround her at a college campus, no problem. But when a bunch of... They said the same about the keeper of the sacred pipe. Nathan Phillips, keeper of the sacred pipe. Oh my goodness. These menacing kids surrounded this noble native man. That's harassment and intimidation. Yet the left does it all the time. But you had that tiki torch incident, and then fast forward, I could be wrong. There was a politician running for office in Virginia. Was it Youngkin? Let's see if I can find this story. And it went viral. My spelling is atrocious. Let's hope. On October 29th, 2021, in Charlottesville, Virginia, a group of 5 people, 4 men and a woman, were dressed in khaki pants, white shirts, baseball caps, and sunglasses, showed up holding lit tiki torches in front of the Republican gubernatorial candidate Glenn Youngkin's campaign. Damn, nailed it. They chanted things like, "We're all in for Glenn," and posed for photos, deliberately mimicking the Unite the Right rally in Charlottesville. Images went viral. Staffers and supporters of Terry McAuliffe, the Democrat, immediately shared the photos, portraying the group as actual white supremacists, supporting Youngkin and trying to tie him to racism and 2017 Charlottesville. Many media outlets reported it as a genuine demonstration of white nationalists. However, later that same day, the Lincoln Project admitted they orchestrated and paid for the stunt. The group was hired by a Democratic operative working for the Lincoln Project, Lauren Windsor. The goal was to create a visual link between Youngkin and the 2017 Unite the Right rally. One of the participants, a black man, which made the white supremacist optics even more absurd once it was revealed. And maybe you remember these pictures. Remember this? Intentionally looking like the Unite the Right. Make no mistake, Charlottesville was a seminal moment for the left. Now, this was laughable. Again, the black man being included there, sort of a telltale sign. And yet, we without question just accept so many of these race narratives, extremist groups, etc. Sure, that one was a lie, but anyways, don't you dare question the rest. How about the story of Roger Moore? Am I getting that right? Not Roger Moore. Was it? Roy Moore. Roger Moore's James Bond. Democrat groups literally used the playbook they accused Russians of using to help Trump in the 2016 election, except they actually did it, to paint Roy Moore as this monster. So this happens. Then, of course, we had the famous, remember the January 6th, where the dude showed up with the khaki and why can't I find that? Well, you've all seen this. I can't find it for some reason. Someone will send it to me. You know what I'm talking about. Where we had the January 6th anniversary rally. And those dudes showed up. They're all like these fit feds wearing the same khaki shorts with sunglasses. It's a fucking joke. This was the event. These are the seminal events that are set up to put these building blocks. The Patriot Front looks like a joke as well. Now we find out what's going on is groups like the Southern Poverty Law Center are financing the very extremist groups that they then report on. But why? Well, because their allies, the Democrat, which they've worked hand in hand with law enforcement of them, it helps them immensely to be able to target and smear their political opponents, both legally and culturally. But it's also immensely profitable. Southern Poverty Law Center's revenue on October 2016, before Charlottesville, $51 million in change. After Charlottesville, a gain of $81 million. They organized almost exclusively based on the extremism of the Unite the Right rally. This led to people like Steve Bannon basically being forced to be ostracized from the Trump administration, regardless of what you think of him. Led to actual, real political changes and attacks. Between that and Rushgate, it became the primary attacks on Trump for his first term. So much so that the then president of the United States, the future president, Joe Biden, used it as his reason for running. Is there any one of these stories of extremism, hate, corruption, etc., etc.? Is there even one anymore that isn't tied to somehow the establishment or the Democratic Party creating the entire hoax? Is there even one? So I wait with bated breath while cheering to see if there's any actual consequences from this. But make no mistake, it's a huge story. And what it shows is another one of the building blocks of the narrative against Trump and Trump supporters is a fucking lie. You see, the Democratic Party is who they've always been. The party that's funding the Ku Klux Klan. That's who they are. You want to stop the funding of white supremacist hate groups? Stop funding the Democrats. Thank you, Robert Whaley. Says he dropped the pic in Discord. There it is. You remember this. Hey, fellow white supremacists. How are you, fellow white supremacist? Let's read some super chats. After all, I'll never be anything more than begging my audience for super chats. Mike Alvarado, thanks so much. $5 says Brian Shapiro talking points. Well, first off, I'm a registered independent. I didn't vote for Obama and Hillary. Rob, Trump's a 34 count felon. Yes. Chop, $10 says, better hope Brian's successful in radio. He could become a proctologist. Anything to get closer. Deplorable Paul, $2 says, Shappy has never passed the cervix before. Mike Alvarado again, $5 says, if Brian debates Rachel, Brian will say, I'm not going to get into these word games with you. I've debated this with Andrew Wilson already. Bank it. Wicked Wally, $5 says, well, I'm very confused by this message Millie sent. Let's see if I can interpret this. The bar for starting an investigation is very low. No one is above the law. There, I hope I can help, Wicked Wally. Jabroni, big time, $10 says, the same thing will happen to the Southern Poverty Law Center that happened to Ticketmaster when they robbed customers. The government will tell them that what they're doing is bad. Then they'll keep doing it with no consequences. Yep, that's the most likely scenario. Socrates, $5 says, not all bad news in Pittsburgh. Cruz jacked a 3-run shot. Ball hit the top of the foul pole. Bucks win 8-4. Nice. Get him, Buccos. And the great Zach Yelpy, $10 says, there was George Allen and the Mikaka incident. I don't know that one. At this point, like, if you hear, oh, there was a college campus and they found a swastika, or we're all in agreement, there's a 90% chance that was some lefty that drew that there, right? Right? That's how it works out almost every time. The Jussie Smollett. I saw Matt Walsh say he feels bad for Jussie Smollett. He was just your mom and pop, cheap doing it himself, race hoaxer. Southern Poverty Law Center was weaponizing this shit. They were monetizing it. Now, let's watch some more clips on this. So here's John Solomon talking about this with Glenn Beck and where he expects this will go. We'll sort of rapid fire some of these.
I mean, at least this one was announced by the DOJ. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, it looks like we're going to prosecute here. More investigations on nonprofits coming.
Yeah, I think we're about to enter into, we have MAGA, we have MAHA, we have all these great acronyms. I think we're about to enter into a period of MAAA, Make America Accountable Again. I
Wow.
with Pam Bondi moved aside, the speed at which the Justice Department will move on things that have been working in the system for months is picking up. And so there'll be more nonprofits that were doing things that probably are not allowed under the tax
Act Blue.
code. If you incorporate yourself to say, we want a tax exemption because we're going to do public good, and you obstruct law enforcement proceedings on the streets of Minnesota or somewhere else, you're probably in danger of having committed fraud. So I would look and see, I'm watching, I think there'll be more indictments in the nonprofit realm. Then we're looking at those who may have given false testimony or obstructed Congress. We know John Brennan was referred for that. James Comey was targeted for that. I think those are on the table right now. Then those who may have gone and gotten phone records and pierced the privacy of individuals, they're next in line. So this line keeps moving. And then I think in the summer and fall, we're going to talk a lot more about a case called Operation Round River. It may be the most troubling of the four.
Oh my gosh.
Round River. Just remember that name. What we believe
what
it
is
is. Yeah. So it falls between Crossfire Hurricane and then Plasmic Echo and Arctic Frost. Plasmic Echo and Arctic Frost are sort of the things that evolve into Jack Smith's investigations. The classified documents is Plasmic Echo. Arctic Frost is the idea. Years later, we're going to go.
No! What happened?
Oh my.
Arctic Frost is the idea. Years later, we're going to go back and charge President Trump with a conspiracy because he and his people wanted to have alternate electors. Now, it's important in that Arctic Frost, which there was a great hearing on yesterday, 2 times in history before this, presidential candidates did submit alternate electors to Congress. 1960, John Kennedy, 1876, Sam Tilden. Neither time were those considered criminal acts, but in Donald Trump's world, he's considered a criminal for doing the third time. That's what Arctic Frost is. But between that, when Russia collusion and Crossfire Hurricane was ending, the FBI opened up a new investigation called Round River, and its goal was to neutralize anyone who would dare suggest that there was a corrupt relationship between Joe Biden, Hunter Biden, and the Ukrainian government or the Ukrainian company Burisma, and to treat people who talked about it with certain speech parameters as national security threats. And I'm working hard to get those files declassified. And I think that's going to be the most troubling, because I believe if what we're being told is true, and I want to check it until we get it there may have been speech parameters as the reason you were targeted. If you said something, you might have been assessed a security threat as a security threat by the FBI. That would be very troubling.
So we'll see. Now, I thought that was interesting because it's something I've spent a lot of time talking about. The Ukrainian impeachment, Hunter Biden's connections to Burisma, et cetera, et cetera. But John Solomon, if he's accurate here, is saying that there was an operation called Round River, right? Which was basically tasked with our intelligence agencies to specifically go after people that were trying to link the Bidens to Ukraine. Now, I don't know much about this. But it'll be very interesting to see. And then the other thing I wanted to read is the great Data Republican, who's amazing, does a lot of actual investigative reporting. Has a thread, how Charlottesville rally, and I'll put the link, so please go check out the thread yourself, like it if you like it. Data Republican's a fantastic follow. She says, how the Charlottesville rally and Southern Poverty Law Center are both an entire $1 billion plus democracy ecosystem. 11 federal counts, wire fraud, money laundering conspiracy. But here's what the Southern Poverty Law Center headlines are missing. The indictment describes a paid informant in leadership chat that planned the Unite the Riot. The informant helped coordinate transportation to the rally at the SPLC's direction. There is one publicly identified organizer whose documented role was transportation coordinator. His Discord posts about running over protesters were made 26 days before Heather Heyer was killed by a car. The indictment says postings were made under the supervision of the Southern Poverty Law Center. Now that's shocking. If the Southern Poverty Law Center is like checking his messages before he sends them, and he's like, we should run over people, and they're like, yep, send it. The indictment says postings were made under the supervision of the SPLC. Charlottesville then became the founding event for a $1 billion political machine. Southern Poverty Law Center installed itself as the machine's definitional gatekeeper. Draw your own conclusions. That's what we read already. Here's more of it. This guy. Now, I want to be clear. I'm not accusing Michael Chesney of anything. He has not been named. This is what Data Republicans posting. But this does not mean that he is the person or did anything. Michael Chesney, the official transportation coordinator for Unite the Right, posted a fake advertisement for a tractor-like multi-lane protester digester and said it sure would be nice to run counter-protest over. And then remember what the indictment says. He attended the event, made racist postings under the supervision of the SPLC, and helped coordinate transportation. Data Republican continues. It's not confirmed that Chesney, who appeared to be encouraging running over protesters, was SPLC's informant. But the indictment, paragraph 11A, describes informant F37, and it matches Chesney. Was a member of the online leadership chat that planned Unite the Riot, attended Charlottesville at the SPLC's direction, made racist postings under SPLC supervision, helped coordinate transportation. Now here's why it matters beyond the fraud charges. Charlottesville became the single most consequential founding event in modern American political infrastructure. Every one of these organizations says, in their own words, they exist or were transformed because of the events of August 12, 2017. Stand Together from the Koch network. August 12, 2017 was the tipping point. Koch, Soros, Ford, ADL, and one coalition because of Charlottesville. Shortly after the attack, the Charles Koch Institute united with a diverse group of partners, including the Anti-Defamation League, Ford Foundation, and Soros Fund, to walk alongside people in communities most affected by extremism to better understand the causes and to discover new tools to prevent related violence. ADL founded the Communities Overcoming Extremism, the After Charlottesville Project, literally named after the event. Listen First Project. The tragic events in Charlottesville, Virginia compelled Pierce to leave his marketing job and invest full-time. First event? First. Listen First in Charlottesville. Integrity First for America, founded in 2017. Single purpose, sue the Unite the Right organizers. Backed at founding by LinkedIn's Reid Hoffman. One event, one lawsuit, one entire organization. UVA Democracy Initiative, now the Karsh Institute, $2.9 million funding from 17 donors, direct response to the white supremacist attack in Charlottesville. All of it traces back to one event. Then, in September 2022, Biden held the United We Stand Summit. Merrick Garland launched United Against Hate the same day. 3 days before the summit, Southern Poverty Law Center wrote a letter to Susan Rice asking to define the terms and goals of our continued collaboration. And the ecosystem listened. National Civic League webinar, Mapping America's Healthy Democracy Ecosystem. Over 10,000 organizations catalog. An audience member asked how they decide who gets excluded. Listen to the answer. Spoiler, Southern Poverty Law Center. The org then defined who was a hate group, asked the White House to make the role permanent. The organization that set the standards and the entire ecosystem adopted is now charged with paying the people it was tracking. The org whose informant was allegedly in the planning chat for the event that justified the building of the machine that raised $132 million in the fiscal year that year included Charlottesville. We need to ask, if the organization at the center of America's entire post-Charlottesville democracy infrastructure had a supervised informant or worst, agent provocateur inside the event that justified the infrastructure, what does that make the infrastructure? So much of this. White supremacy, right-wing violence, etc. That narrative was then able to spin off to the January 6th narrative. It's able to spin off to the ISIS violence. All of this shit going back to Nazi. At the same time, Trump's Jewish supremacist. Bought and paid for by Netanyahu. Simultaneously in the eyes of these people. So it's a very important story. Obviously, it's going to be ongoing. We'll talk more about it. I promise. But I feel your frustration in the chat as well. Who gives a shit if no one gets arrested? Who gives a shit if there's not consequences? I totally agree. But it doesn't mean that we shouldn't keep pushing to expose the truth, and we shouldn't celebrate when at least small incremental steps are being taken, in my opinion. So I'll continue to be inquisitively pessimistic about actual people being held responsible. But today I celebrate. At least more people are waking up to how much bullshit this all was. One more super chat that I see here for Bri. Or is it Bree? I forget. Sorry, dude. I'm from VA. I'm from Virginia. Remember Charlottesville rally? Which was initially against removing statues, and out of nowhere it turned into Unite the Right rally with Neos. I didn't go after the event was co-opted, right? Thanks for the 5. One last thing I'll say. There's going to be a lot of speculation. Who on the right's actually being paid by these groups and is an infiltrator? 2 things I'll say to that. Remember the other day I got pissed off at someone who I thought was Fed posting in my chat? Make no mistake, there are people that are paid by feds or by left-wing organizations to infiltrate communities and spread shit like that to justify the crackdown on those communities. So whether it be my channel, other streamers' channels, Discord channels you're in, or whatever, you should always be skeptical of anyone that's telling you to engage in acts of extremism, because there's a solid chance that they're intentionally setting you up. Secondly, there is no doubt on the whole that there are people that are supposedly right-wing that are paid by these organizations that are tasked with shutting down right-wing movements. I'm not going to speculate on who they may be today. You're going to hear a lot of speculation. It may be difficult to prove that an individual is one of those people, but on the whole, you have to know that those people are out there. So be cautious. Ask yourself this. When you hear people that are telling you things like, don't vote, both sides are the same, who gives a shit anymore, nothing can be done, there's a better than not chance those people are legitimately good people that are rightfully pessimistic. But it could also be that that is a message of utility for the very people that we're trying to push back against, to demoralize you, to make you think that there is no point in trying to do things to make things incrementally better. So I'm not saying go out and point your finger and say, you're a Fed, you're a lefty. That's not what I'm suggesting. I'm just suggesting, keep in mind, that's exactly what your opponents want. And maybe if that's what they want, you ought to think, is that what I should give them? Or do they want that because they know there is something worthwhile in trying to push back culturally, religiously, and politically against this crazy stuff? I'm not here to tell you. I saw a lot of people saying, Nick Fuentes, it's Nick Fuentes that was Unite the Right. I don't know. I don't think it describes Nick. Could be, but I don't see evidence that it is. A litany of other people. Was it Richard Spencer? Was it this Chesney guy? I don't know. But it's undoubtable. There were people inside that movement that were there to set up that movement. It is fucked up. It's not fair. We live in a society where our opponents can get away with impunity with the most heinous of actions. They've infiltrated damn near every institution. They use them to their advantage. We're fighting a massive uphill battle. So it's not fair that on top of all of that, we have to police ourselves. It's one of the reasons I'm so vehemently against any idea or discussion of utilizing political violence. All it takes is one wrong word, and like that, you're on a list, you're demonetized, your channel's banned, the feds are visiting you, etc. But instead of complaining about it, you just act. You know that we must police ourselves. And I know there have been people that think that I've been too harsh with banning them or banning others because I think that they're saying shit that could get my channel in trouble or get our greater project or community in trouble. But know that I do this for two reasons. Because one, I truly don't want people engaging in that sort of political violence. And second, I do not want those actions of bad actors, whether they be legitimate or they be paid for by people like the Southern Poverty Law Center, the feds, etc., to be used as an excuse to crack down on people that I share political and cultural values with. That's why I do that. All right. Now, I very much am happy because I was worried I was supposed to do this debate review stuff with Andrew tonight and then it fell through. But if that would have happened, yesterday I talked to Tony, today debate review, tomorrow debate. I was worried I wasn't going to be able to talk about this story until Friday. So I'm glad I got to at least give my initial opinions. I think this is something we're going to do deep dives on for months going into the future. And hopefully Act Blues case, this Round River case, and a bunch of others. Some super chats quickly. Texas dude, you absolute legend. $100. Says, keep being you, Rub. Personally, I'm dead inside. Sadly, many years in the military. People like you are my hope for the world. Thanks. Thank you for the kind words, man. And listen, let me say, I don't know your exact position or anything like that. I find advice is hollow coming from a guy like me because I'm truly one of the luckiest people that have ever existed. So it's easy for me to be like, cheer up, things will get better. I don't know that. I don't. What I will say is this. You matter. Sounds like you served, which is more than I ever did. And there's something out there for you, right? There's a family member. There's a neighbor. There's someone in your community that can rely on you. So even if shit seems impossible on the grander political scale, go to church. Find loved ones. Find community members that you could be part of and focus on that. We're all going to be dead and dust in fucking 100 years anyways, and no one's going to remember the political issues we pushed for. So you might as well make lasting relationships that matter in the real world, you know? But thank you, man. I really appreciate it. Micah Heglin, thanks so much for being a member. I appreciate it. Psycher Carrick, $2 says, we know one paid is Counterpoint. He admits to it. Hey, it's paid by Progressive Victory. John Strives, thank you. 18 months, you lunatic. Thank you, man. Thank you. Now, before I move on to Wade Boggs' favorite portion, I would be remiss. I'll have to admit to you, a brief aside, I am so fucking pleased with how this X Exchange song with me and Brian Shapiro came out. So I'd be damned if I don't play it again. So here we go. The exchange I had today and yesterday with Brian Shapiro on X in the form of operatic song. Let's do it. First we'll start with his intro.
He harasses women in messages, has a weird infatuation with men's organs. He's a syndicated radio host, and it's all about respect. He's Brian Shapiro.
All right, here we go.
Hi, Rob. All joking aside, you asked to debate me again just last week. I laughed. I brought you up to Michael and Jack, and they had no idea who you were. This is why I debated Alex Stein instead in Phoenix. We sold out tickets. I wish you luck with your YouTube Super Chat career, begging your 100 fans for money. All joking aside, Merry Christmas. Lowell, I did not ask to debate you last week. MDD reached out to me and asked if I would debate you. I said yes. Apparently you declined. Thanks for wishing me well, though. I still am not gonna let you see my penis, though. El Mayo, neither me or anyone else wants to see that. The insult was, when was the last time you saw your penis, Rob? I declined because we already debated, and nobody knows who the fuck you are. Good luck with your YouTube begging, and have a good night. I know you are upset. I declined to show you my penis, but no need to lie. This is why you will never be any more than a YouTube Super Chat unknown beg clown. I have an event with the governor today, paid debates tomorrow and next week. You have the same 100 listeners who you will beg for donations. Good luck with that and your amazing career. I will never be known because I pointed out you are lying about asking to see my penis. great talk, Rob, one day. You might take those Andrew Wilson simp knee pads off. You are invisible and irrelevant. I have work to do. Mute. Don't project just because you are obsessed with seeing dude's penis. But I understand you need to get back to work. More women to send harassing DMs to, I suppose. Could be, or could be getting paid for speaking engagements and debates. I have only been doing scheduled debates outside my show for 6 months, and I get paid. You have been doing this for a decade, and nobody pays you. What does that say about your YouTube begging career? Hell no, bye-bye, Rob winning! Wow, you are impressive! Still not letting you see my penis, though.
Oh, we did it. What an exchange. My goodness. I feel like my entire channel could just be that from now on. Just picking fights with Brian Shapiro on X and then putting it to a catchy tune. Bam. We got some gold. Got some gold there. Brian Shapiro. Ah, my goodness. Ah. Am I muted? No, I'm not muted. I will never show my penis to Brian Shapiro, the bastard. No matter if there is 100 billion people a day that watch his syndicated radio show. Dex, dude, thanks so much, man, for becoming a member. All right. It's about that time of the night where I have to play ridiculous whip songs. No, it's terrible. I hate it. But it does pay the bills. Before we do that, reminder, tomorrow, 9 p.m. Eastern, right here on whatever channel you're watching, I will be debating a modern-day debate, the topic of Christian nationalism. I will be defending it. I will be taking a similar take as my previous 2 debates on Christian nationalism, so if you like that, tune in. I have no idea who I'm debating, someone named Leslie. I don't know if it's a man or a woman. We shall see. Secondly, Friday will be a normal show. Saturday, I think I'll be streaming. Once a month, I'm going to just do like a dick around stream. So it probably won't be much politics or anything like that. So maybe we'll do a 50% discount on whip songs Saturday. Will be the plan. So we're going to try to raise some money. I think I can announce this. I'm not so sure how much I'll be streaming next week because there is a solid chance that I will be attending the modern day debate events in the Carolinas, both Rachel Wilson debating Brian Shapiro and Andrew debating Owen Schroyer. I think I will be there in person. So getting a little greedy because I won't be streaming those days, trying to raise a little money. So that should be Saturday. We'll probably start streaming it around 9 p.m. Eastern Saturday, and we'll go late into the night. So it should be a lot of fun. So good stuff coming up here. I'm looking forward to. Very excited about this debate tomorrow. Love for Lobster. How have you been, man? 10 months a member, says missed show, but tuned into the BS song. Good work. Thank you. Andrew's debating Dinesh D'Souza at DebateCon in Dallas. That's later in the summer. But yeah. And then Destiny's also debating Dinesh D'Souza there. So there is no price. My integrity has no bounds. I'll never. All right. IO. 1, 2 whip songs. 2 whip songs. Now, it's everyone's favorite part of the show except mine and the huge amount of people that stop watching because this part of the show is stupid. Nonetheless, if you're new, here's what happens. We got these whip songs. I put them on a big wheel. It's the same fucking stupid ass song over and over again, except in different versions. For $100 donation, we'll spin the wheel and play one of those stupid fucking songs that I hate. $150, you could pick one of those stupid fucking songs or any of the other ones, the Brian Shapiro song or anything else for $150. Or you could create a new song in a new format for $200 based on the whip songs. $100 donation basically spins the wheel, plus anytime we get over an even $100. So if we get to 500, that will be a whip song. So if you donate right now $87, that would be a whip song because it'll take us $500. If you donate $100 right now, you get one whip song for making it over 500, plus another for donating a singular $100 donation. I don't know what's worse, playing the fucking songs or explaining the rules. Both suck. Also, this Saturday, I believe we'll bring back the Chat of the Week award, except it'll be Chat of the Month. I'll explain the rules of that when we get there. So tune in Saturday for your chance to become the Chat of the Month. All right. I owe 2 songs unless more people donate. Let us happily play them. Yeah, you're right. Playing the songs is worse. Yeah. Oh boy, what do I got going on here? Dark email. Great. Oh, shit.
There's a way. There's a way. There's a way. There's a way. We don't want to go to war today, but the Lord of the Last says nay, nay, nay. We're gonna march all day, all day, all day. What if there's a way? What if there's a way? Where there's a way. There's a way. Where there's a way. There's a way. Left, right, left, right, left. Where there's a way. There's a way. Left, right. A crack on the back says we're gonna fight. We're gonna march all day and night and more. For we are the slaves of the dark Lord's war. There's a way. There's a way. There's a way. There's a way. Left, right, left, right, left. Where there's a way. There's a way. Left, right.
All right, I'll tell you guys what's so funny. So our good friend of the show, Cool Vic, He puts a picture out. There's Brian Shapiro at the Unfuck America tour. That's funny enough. Look at that guy. What a cool guy, right? But this, I don't know why. This made me laugh so hard. He looks so pleased. Oh, man. That's great. That's a great photo. Oh, shit. That's really funny. Look how whimsical he looks. Oh, man. Watch out. Ooh, watch out. That guy there. Let me tell you, buddy. Watch yourself. All right. I have one more stupid ass song. Oh, my goodness. That was funny. I thoroughly enjoyed that. Baby Arm Shapiro. Oh, thank you, Wicker. Now, $5 super sticker. Thanks. Really appreciate it. I give my attention to what I want. It's not my fault. You guys only donated for 2 today. That's on you guys. War March. Here we go.
We don't want to go to war today, but the Lord of Lash says nay, nay, nay. We're gonna march all day, all day, all day. Where there's a whip, there's a way. 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 Left, left, right, left. Where there's a whip, there's a way. Left, right. A crack on the back says we're gonna fight. We're gonna march all day and night. And more, for we are the slaves of the Dark Lord's war.
We did it, folks. We did it. We successfully did it. We lost 1/3 of the audience. We accomplished that. We're very good at that. If there's nothing that the whip songs, yes, they torment me. Yes, they bring in money, but they reliably chase out 1/3 of the audience. We cut that dead weight off. See you later, fuckers. Intel Wild, thank you so much. $5. Does anyone else think Myron Gaines looks like Kash Patel? Oh boy. Oh, I didn't do the gold thing. Go! You think that's what Brian Shapiro does when he finally gets to see someone's penis? He chants goal like that. That's right, Dave Alyssa. Fuck them. Fuck them all. Rumblers are still here. Am I right? Fuck them. We're offended. You're offended. Look at the rain. Thank you so much, sir. Rumblers, they're gonna stick around. They don't give a fuck. It's like, they're there for real. I got 2 minutes if no one else donates. 2 minutes. just for funds. Let's one more time. Can we one more time? I know people are tired of it, but fuck you guys. I'm tired of everything. All right.
He harasses women in messages, has a weird infatuation with men's organs. He's a syndicated radio host, and it's all about respect. He's Brian Shapiro.
Oh, Blaster Butt, $77. What a legend. Says chair could go for longer. That is true. That is true. Anyways, $5 away from another whip song while we're
Hi,
waiting.
Rob. All joking aside, you asked to debate me again just last week. I laughed. I brought you up to Michael and Jack, and they had no idea who you were. This is why I debated Alex Stein instead in Phoenix. We sold out tickets. I wish you luck with your YouTube Super Chat career, begging your 100 fans for money. All joking aside, Merry Christmas. Lowell, I did not ask to debate you last week. MDD reached out to me and asked if I would debate you. I said yes. Apparently you declined. Thanks for wishing me well, though. I still am not gonna let you see my penis, though. LMAO, neither me or anyone else wants to see that. The insult was, when was the last time you saw your penis, Rob? I declined because we already debated, and nobody knows who the fuck you are. Good luck with your YouTube begging, and have a good night. I know you are upset. I declined to show you my penis, but no need to lie. This is why you will never be any more than a YouTube Super Chat unknown beg clown. I have an event with the governor today, pay debates tomorrow and next week. You have the same 100 listeners who you will beg for donations. Good luck with that and your amazing career. I will never be known because I pointed out you are lying about asking to see my penis. Great talk, Rob, one day. You might take those Andrew Wilson simp knee pads off. You are invisible and irrelevant. I have work to do. Mute. Don't project just because you are obsessed with seeing dudes' penis. But I understand you need to get back to work. More women to send harassing DMs to, I suppose. Could be, or could be getting paid for speaking engagements and debates. I have only been doing scheduled debates outside my show for 6 months, and I get paid. You have been doing this for a decade, and nobody pays you. What does that say about your YouTube begging career? Hell no, bye-bye, Rob winning! Wow, you are impressive! Still not letting you see my penis, though.
I got to get Black Elk to like put together a package with that song where it clips from my face to Brian's, and then we'll get that up as just a video. I think that's a good one. It's a good one. Oh yeah, there's nothing I like seeing more than poor Wade Buggs bilked out of money needlessly and get nothing for it. So Blaster Butt, thank you for the $5 and getting us to another whip song. And then look, loser Wade donates $5. Says can't let a whip song go unplayed. Oh, but sadly the 5 already came in, thereby wasting his money. Ha! I'm gonna spend that specific $5 on a bunch of bullshit. That's what I'm gonna do. All right. That feels good. It feels good watching Wade get hosed out of $5. I can tolerate this whip song because of that. Ooh! And it's not the dumbest one. All right. I'll let you all decide what version's better, British synth pop 1 or 2. You know, listen, I love Blasterbutt, great dude. $95 says, I got you, Wade. Thank you, Blasterbutt, for the donation. And listen, in a way, that's helping Wade out. But Wade, be honest. If he would have just sent the 100, it would have got 2 wheels. Instead, he sent 95, which is only 1. So it's like a compromise between helping Wade out, but harassing him as well. Oh, it's not 2 more. No, that's 1. Yep. Oh, look at this. Now it's just sad. Now it's sad. Extra tone. What the hell is that? Probably something horrible. Jeez. Oh, this one. My wife saw a friend from her high school today. We went out to eat breakfast and they were out there. She was like, asked my wife, do you still work at the bank? And she says, no, since we've had Hank, I don't work. I stay home. Rob works. And she goes, what do you do? And I was like, oh, how are you guys figuring it's 2? You're not going to gaslight me. It was a $95 donation. Well, that's not $100. That 95 took us exactly to 600. That's 1 whip wheel. Nonetheless, I said, yeah, no, you don't get to combine. No, you don't get to combine. That's not how it works. There is no combining 2 people's donos. That's not how it works. Nonetheless, I said, yeah, I do politics streaming. Blah, blah, blah. And she's like, oh, yeah, does that pay well? I'm like, yeah, I'm doing okay. And my wife goes, no, that's not his job. His job is playing whip songs. And the woman's like, what? And I was like, so I had to briefly explain this. Yeah, that's basically, I should have just said what Wade says here. But yeah, that was the gist of it. So it's really affecting my social life at this point as well.
Where there's a whip, there's a way. Where there's a whip, there's a way. You don't wanna go to work today, but the Lord of the land says nay, nay, nay. We're gonna march all day, all day, all day. Where there's a whip, there's a way. There's a way. A crack on the back says we're gonna fight. We're gonna march all day and night and more, for we are the slaves of the Dark Lord's war.
We did it. Oh, fuck. Who was this? Oh, Blasterbot! Son of a bitch. Thank you so much. $100 legend says, joke's on you. So many thirsty people are ordering pipe that I'm getting double time on my overtime. Have another. Bree over on Rumble. $5 says, whip it good. Thank you, guys. Just don't be a stupid one. That's 2 more I owe. Shit. I was just talking about Okay.
Where there's a whip, there's a way. Where there's a whip, there's a way. We don't wanna go to war today, but the Lord of the Land says nay, 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 nay. We're gonna march all day, all day, all day. Where there's a whip, there's a way. 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 Left, right, left, right, left. Where there's a whip, there's a way. Left, right. A crack on the back says we're gonna fight. We're gonna march all day and night and more. For we are the slaves of the Dark Lord's war. Where there's a whip, where there's a whip, there's a way. 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 Left, right, left, right, left. Where there's a way, there's a way. Where there's a whip, there's a way. Where there's a whip, there's a way.
Next. I see the Toady Hawk. Chat. Last one, hopefully. Whoopee. Oh. Light emo 1. Because I was done arguing with people into that 28-hour stream. Can we have both versions? I was like, fine, fuck it, whatever. It was time for bed 10 hours before bed came.
There's a way. Where there's a whip, there's a way. We don't wanna go to war today, but the Lord of the Last says nay, nay, nay. We're gonna march all day, all day, all day. Where there's a whip, there's a way. 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 Left, right, left, right, left. Left, right, left, right, left. Where there's a whip, there's a way. Left, right. The crack on the back says we're gonna fight. We're gonna march all day and night and more. For we are the slaves of the Dark Lord's war.
Wasn't that sweet? Wasn't that nice? You know, we're only $14 away from 200% of the goal. Maybe some cheery, upbeat music will convince someone to send that $14.
He harasses women in messages, has a weird infatuation with men's organs. He's a syndicated radio host, and it's all about respect. He's Brian Shapiro.
That makes me so happy. I fucking love that. By the end of this, we're gonna have fucking days of content. Just fucking, it's like a sitcom. I'm sure we could use AI to come up with the Brian Shapiro sitcom, right? It's Brian furiously yelling at women at their DMs. You're fucking slut! Fuck you! Show me your penis! It's great. It's great. I didn't even listen. There's another version of that. I didn't listen to it. I mean, I did spell the name wrong. I did spell it Shapiro instead of Shapiro. Here, I'll play the other version. All right. Here we go.
Harasses women in messages, has a weird infatuation with men's organs. He's a syndicated radio host, and it's all about respect.
He's Brian Shapiro.
Yeah.
Harasses women in messages.
And then here is the other version of the super chat song. You guys could hear that, right? That time you could hear it. I hope. Could you hear it? All right. Here's the other version of the. Look, I'll give you this one for free, but someone should throw the $14 in. This is the other message or the other version of the X exchange.
Hi, Rob. All joking aside, you asked to debate me again just last week. I laughed. I brought you up to Michael and Jack, and they had no idea who you were. This is why I debated Alex Stein instead in Phoenix. We sold out tickets. I wish you luck with your YouTube Super Chat career, begging your 100 fans for money. All joking aside, Merry Christmas. Lowell, I did not ask to debate you last week. MDD reached out to me and asked if I would debate you. I said yes. Apparently you declined. Thanks for wishing me well, though. I still am not gonna let you see my penis, though. Hell no, neither me or anyone else wants to see that. The insult was, when was the last time you saw your penis, Rob? I declined because we already debated, and nobody knows who the fuck you are. Good luck with your YouTube begging and have a good night. I know you are upset. I declined to show you my penis. But no need to lie. This is why you will never be any more than a YouTube Super Chat unknown beg clown. I have an event with the governor today, paid debates tomorrow and next week. You have the same 100 listeners who you will beg for donations. Good luck with that and your amazing career. I will never be known because I pointed out you are lying about asking to see my penis. Great talk, Rob, one day. You might take those Andrew Wilson simp knee pads off. You are invisible and irrelevant. I have work to do. Mute. Don't project. Just because you are obsessed with seeing dudes' penis. But I understand you need to get back to work. More women to send harassing DMs to, I suppose. Could be, or could be getting paid for speaking engagements and debates. I have only been doing scheduled debates outside my show for 6 months, and I get paid. You have been doing this for a decade, and nobody pays you. What does that say about your YouTube begging career? LMAO. Bye, Rob winning. Wow. You are impressive. Still not letting you see my penis, though. Hi, Rob.
Oh, no.
All joking aside,
We don't
you
need to
asked
hear
debate-
anymore. I did like the last, not letting you see my penis, though. Ah. It really picks up there, doesn't it? Let's see if I can put the last part one more time.
Hi, Rob. No.
Bye, Rob winning.
Wow. You are impressive. Still not letting you see my penis, though.
I need to clip just that little bit. It was a soft finish. Absolutely. Kyle ran a mile. Thank you so much for the $4. Appreciate it. Joseph Romano, $2. Thank you, man. Well, we're almost to the 714. Dude. I should, you know what I should do? If I go to Rachel's debate with Brian, I should just take a jukebox, like playing these songs afterwards. Brian, will you sign my official Penis Gate hat, Brian? Can I get an autograph? Just have it say, Rob. It's about respect. That's what it's about. It's about respect. Mm. I don't know if you guys knew. It's a little thing called respect. It's called respect. I don't know if you know about it. Oh, man. What a... I am the lamest person in the world. I'm doing this song, and I'm fucking laughing my ass off. I'm sitting here. That's why I was like 5 minutes late. I was listening to both versions of those songs. I was like, what the fuck? This is ridiculous. Yeah, I get a custom shirt that says Brian Shapiro asked to see my penis and wear it to the... That would be funny. And then if they have Q&A, just wait in line. Just be like, Brian, why did you ask to see my penis? You know how mad he'd be watching me wait in line, like 4 people behind to sit there patiently and get up and ask a question. Just sitting there. Hi, thanks. My question's for Brian. James would be so pissed for modern day debate. He'd be like, what are you doing? I have a serious question. All joking aside, why did you ask to see my penis? Is it really about respect, Brian? That's my question. Oh my goodness. Oh. I'm so pleased. The whole thing's funny to me. Whew. The one thing Brian said that's absolutely true, the when he called into my show and he's like, you know that I'm good content for your channel. He is right about that. And that's actually where his strength is. He's such a fucking clown. That, like, if you're a budding, like, it don't matter. You could be the biggest fucking right-winger in the world to just, like, 5 people that watch you, wherever, anywhere in between. And you're going to get an easy victory with Brian coming on and making an ass of himself. You barely have to talk. You just sit there and listen to him spurg out for 18 minutes and be like, yeah, I think you're quite ridiculous. That's it. That's all you need to do. You're going to look like a fucking genius. You know? Go with a Me Too shirt. It's brilliant. Like, if it comes out, like, maybe Brian really is. Like, you know, the whole, like, Andy Kaufman, right, where he would get super into character. So Andy Kaufman, you know, he had this whole bit with the wrestler Jerry the King Lawler, where he went in, like, these late-night comedy shows and had, like, a real fight, like, really got the shit beat out of him by Jerry the King Lawler, who was a wrestler. And then after Andy Kaufman's death, it turned out that it was all bullshit, that Andy Kaufman was in on it the whole time. And it was like a big work. I feel like that's what it'll be. Like, you know, 50 years from now, Brian will pass away. And, you know, whoever it might be, his gay lover or whatever, will come out and be like, actually, it was all a bit. Right? Brian was secretly a right-winger that was just committed to this bit of making the left look as shitty as possible. He even took on a gay lover to keep the bit going. We'd ask to see dudes' penises and shit. It was great. And I'll be like, it's genius. The man's one of the greatest geniuses of our time. You know? And we'll all sit back and I'll be like, we should have saw the signs. He was so good. He was so good at what he did. Oh, man. Maybe Jerry did really hate Andy. I don't know. I mean, Jerry was accused of being with some young ladies himself, so. All right. We're $8 short of 200% of the goal. I don't care. I think we had a damn good night. Oh, there's a respect shirt in the Discord. Oh, it's all about respect. That's not bad. It's not bad at all here. It's a little thing called respect. It's about respect. It's not bad. I'd probably get my wife. She's got one of those crickets. I'd probably get her to do that. Oh, piss. Wade Boggs, $8. It's 200% whip song. And then, oh no, Blaster Bot. The absolute legend. $100 says, turns out Brian was funded by Turning Point USA. Candace has the scoop. I think Brian mentioned he was a time traveler. Now, who said that 200% was a fucking whip song? You guys are always scamming me. Always a scam with this crew. Oh, yeah. Get ready.
Where there's a will. Where there's a will. Where there's a will. Oh, we don't want to go to war today, but the Lord of the land. Where there's a will. Where there's a will. Where there's a will.
Here we go.
Where there's a whip, where there's a whip, where there's a whip, oh, where there's a whip, where there's a whip, rise, oh, there's a whip, where there's a whip, where there's a whip, where there's a whip, oh, left.
Hey! Two more. Sounds terrible. Oh, it's a long one. Great. All right, one more. That one sucks. I don't care for that one. I'm just going to throw that out there. They all suck, but amongst a pile of shit, that one, it's somehow more shit than others. Surf rock. Okay. We good? We're $86 away. I don't see anyone donating another $86. I think we're good. I get to hear one song I like.
He harasses women in messages, has a weird infatuation with men's organs. He's a syndicated radio host, and it's all about respect. He's Brian Shapiro.
It's so upbeat, so optimistic. I'm a big fan. Oh. I was thinking, what rhymes with DMs about show me your penis? Men's organs. I thought that was good. It's got a weird infatuation with men's organs. I'm pleased. I'm pleased with my own, you know. Yeah, I agree. I was gonna redo it to pronounce his name right, but now that I think about it, I think it's even better that it's pronounced wrong. I think it's great. Every time if I ever interact with him, I'm calling. How does she say it? Shaprio. Let's check one more time.
He harasses women in messages, has a weird infatuation with men's organs. He's a syndicated radio host, and it's all about respect. He's Brian Shapiro.
Shaprio. Yeah, that's what I'll have to call him to his face. Now, Brian Shaprio, how you doing today? And you know it'll piss him off. Ah, yes. Oh, man. Brian, I know you're watching. If you're wondering what the title of the video is about, you'll never guess what Brian Shapiro asked me to see. Brian Shapiro asked me to see. It was my penis, Brian. That's what you asked to see of mine. Weird that you're... Goodness gracious. He's watching. He is. That is true. If you get to $1,000, it's a free Disney whip song. But I'm not gonna hold my breath. Brian Shapiro. He's watching and waiting. She's like, oh, maybe Rob will fall asleep, and maybe he'll slightly lean, and we'll be able to see his penis. You never know. Maybe he'll show his penis. Always watching. Always. It's not going to happen. Where's Avarice? I don't know. Probably on a different panel or something tonight. And the typos to the next song. I blame Jake too. I was going to just do a serious show tonight. And then Shake's like, I'm going to talk about Brian Shapiro. I was like, did you see the exchange I had with him today? My favorite part of that exchange was when I was like, Brian, no, you did ask to see my penis. Don't lie. And I put the clip. And then his response is like, this is why you'll never be big. Really? That's the reason. I was on the cusp of my big break. And someone's like, excuse me, sir. Yes, I know we were about to hire robnoerr to be a big syndicated radio host like Brian Shapiro, but this just in. Rob corrected Brian Shapiro on lying about wanting to see his penis. Well, that just won't do. We're never going to let this guy be big. Ah, what a silly, silly, silly man. All righty. Well, it's about that time of the night. It's been fun. I've enjoyed my time with all of you. Thanks, my editor, Black Elk. Thank you to all of my amazing mods. Thanks to Jake Rattlesnake for inspiring me for the show today. Everyone who donated money. Blasterbot MVP tonight, killing it. Thank you so much, Blasterbot. Can't wait to do I'll get in touch with you as we get closer to June here, and we'll set up a day that I know you're around, so we can set up the official Blasterbot Invitational Dino Battle Tournament. It's going to be a blast. I don't know who's going to win. It's going to be crazy. Absolute craziness. So I did lose half my subscribers, didn't I? Look, in a moment of seriousness before we leave here, remember the Southern Poverty Law Center about, in a short time before Charlie Kirk was assassinated, listed Turning Point as a hate group. And make no mistake as we talk about this story, and hopefully they're held accountable. The whole business model has been to pay for hate groups and then label other people hate groups because of the shit they're intentionally inspiring people to do. So take a moment and say a prayer for Charlie and his family and his daughters that are going to grow up without a father, and how it was celebrated by so many people on the left. So God bless you, Charlie. We're going to raid over tonight to Abe Dinkus. I thought I'd raid over to Abe. There's a lot of good people streaming tonight, though. If you don't want to watch Abe, I think you could go check out Cool Vic was on. I think Jay Dyer was on. Maybe Byron Gaines. And my buddy, Only Mr. Bill. So a lot of options, but we're going to raid over to Abe. So I hope you have a good time over there. We will see you all tomorrow around 9 p.m. I'll probably get on around 8:45. Debate's supposed to start at 9 p.m. Eastern on Modern Day Debate. You'll be able to find it in all these channels. And we'll be debating Christian nationalism. So, all right. Thanks so much, everyone. We'll talk to you all soon. As always, have a good one.
Only in America is it possible to say, you know what, I don't like the way the country is going, and to do something about it. Take that risk. Take that leap of faith. Stay involved. Trust God and act obediently. Romans 12:2 verse. That God will use all things, for good for those who love him. It's bigger than you. I want you to remember that. It is bigger than you. It's bigger than me. You are here to make somebody else's life better, the pursuit of liberty and freedom. You know what gives me strength? The hundreds of thousands of you that say, Charlie, keep going.
1 Corinthians 5 and 15. So that's all pretty amazing evidence, not just intra-biblical evidence, but extra-biblical evidence that Jesus Christ was a real person. He lived a perfect life. He was crucified, died, and rose on the third day, and he is Lord and God of all.